In this video, we'll be attempting the 2026 JAMB CBT past question for the subject biology. Let's begin with question 11. During anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, pyruvic acid is. During anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, pyruvic acid is A. Reduced to lactic acid, B. Oxidized to ethanol, C. Oxidized to lactic acid, D. Reduced to water. Let me read the question again so you can understand. During anaerobic respiration, take note that the key word here is anaerobic respiration. During anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, pyruvic acid is what? So they're actually looking for what pyruvic acid is reduced to. So pyruvic acid is what? Pyruvic acid is A, reduced to lactic acid. Pyruvic acid B is oxidized to ethanol. Pyruvic acid C is oxidized to lactic acid. Pyruvic acid D is reduced to water. Now, I want you to take note of this. During anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, during anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, during anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, especially when oxygen is limited, when there's limitation, when there's limited oxygen. Now, during anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, when oxygen is limited, like during intense exercise, are you with me? Pyruvic acid is reduced to pyruvic acid is reduced to lactic acid. Are you with me? Is reduced to lactic acid. Okay? Pyruvic acid is reduced to lactic acid. During anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, most especially during intense exercise, pyruvic acid is reduced to lactic acid. Okay? Pyruvic acid is reduced to lactic acid. Okay? So, the process, can you hear me? This process helps produce a small amount of energy. A small amount of energy is being produced, small energy, in form of ATP. Is being produced during this process without using any oxygen. The buildup of lactic acid, when lactic acid has been built up, can cause muscle fatigue or cramps. So this option, looking at this option, during anaerobic respiration in skeletal muscles, pyruvic acid is reduced to lactic acid. So the correct option here is option A. Is reduced to lactic acid. Option A is very correct. Let's move to question 12. Let's move to question 12. This is question 12. The teeth used for tearing and cutting are the teeth used for tearing and cutting. Now, in human being, we have various set of teeth. Okay, we have various set of teeth. We have incisors. Incisors are the sharp, flat teeth at the front of the mouth. Incisors are the sharp, flat teeth in front of the mouth. Are you with me? They are sharp, flat teeth in front of the mouth, and they are primarily used for cutting. They are primarily used for cutting and biting food. Okay, so incisors, they are used for cutting and biting. They are the sharp, flat teeth in front of the mouth. They are basically used for cutting and biting food. Let's move to next one. We have canine. We have canine. Okay. Now, canine, they are actually the pointed teeth. They are pointed teeth. Canine, they are pointed teeth. So, they are pointed teeth that is next to incisors. They are used for tearing food. They are used for tearing food. If you look at carnivorous animal, you realize that they use more of their canine. Yeah, they use more of their canine like dog, like lions, and other carnivorous animals, because they basically tear meat. Do you understand? Because lion now, you don't expect someone to in the jungle. Lion doesn't eat all this cooked food, so they eat fresh meat, and the only way they can do that is to use their canine to tear them. So, but we human being, we use all our set of teeth. So let's move to next set of teeth. So we have the premolar. We have the premolar. Now, premolar is used for chewing and breaking food. They are kind of flat. Chewing and breaking, they are flat. Then we also have molar. We have molar. Molar is the last part. It's very, very flat, and they are used for grinding food. To grind them. Grinding food. Okay. So you can write them down. So this is premolar, used for chewing and breaking. Premolar is used for chewing and breaking. Molar is used for grinding. Okay. So molar is basically used for grinding. Now let me read the question. The teeth used for tearing and cutting. Tearing and cutting. So we already said that canine is used for tearing and cutting. Incisor is used for cutting and biting. So if you not see in cutting, if you see biting, still go for incisors. Okay, so the correct option here is option D. Let's move to question 13. Question 13. Turgor pressure occurs in a cell when the dash. Turgor pressure occur in a cell when the dash. A. Volume of a cell sap increases. This is option A. B. Cell loses water to its environment. C. Volume of cell decreases. D. Cell is put in an isotonic solution. Let me read the question again so you can understand. Turgor pressure occurs in a cell when the dash. The question is testing what happens to plant when water enters the cell and increases the volume of the cell sap. Are you with me? So this question is basically testing that what happened to a plant cell when water enters the cell. Okay? What happened to a plant cell when water enters the cell and increases the volume of the cell sap? Okay? Now look at the question carefully. The key word here is sugar pressure. The key word here is sugar pressure. Before we look at the options, let me remind what happens to a plant cell when water enters it. Now, okay, let's say this is a cell. Are you with me? So this is a cell. This is a water. Just trying to draw a cell and then a water. This is the surrounding of the cell. Let me make it thicker. So these are the cell. Now, sugar pressure is the pressure exerted by the cell content. The pressure exerted by this cell content. Are you with me? So let's say this thing they are the cell content. Now, the pressure exerted by this cell content or this cell content against the cell wall. So these are cell content. These are cell content. The pressure exerted by all this against the cell wall, this is the cell wall, mainly when water from here, let's say this is water, there are many waters here. When water enters it, okay, or let me highlight the water from here. Now, the pressure that is exerted by this cell content against the cell wall when water enters it, when water enters the plant cell and the cell sap increases. Let me repeat again. Sugar pressure is the pressure exerted by the cell content, by all this cell content, inside this thing. The pressure exerted by the cell content mainly when water enters. The pressure exerted by this cell content against the cell wall, this is the cell wall, when water enters it, is what we know as the sugar pressure. And what happened basically is that the cell sap, it will increase, okay? The cell sap will increase in volume, okay? Are you with me? So the cell sap will increase in volume. All right, let me show you something. Let me show you something. Are you with me? Water. Water enters. Water enters. Hmm? You know, there was a particular time I was showing you that water enters the cell, right? Now, water enters the cell sap. When water enter, the cell sap, what do they do? Does the cell sap actually expand? Yeah, the cell sap expand. When water enters, the cell sap, this is expand, okay? So when water enter, the cell sap expand, then the cell membrane increases against the cell wall. Let me draw it again. So these are the cell content. What happen is that when water enters, the cell sap will expand. Like, can you see how this is it? Can you see how small it is? Now it will now expand, means it becomes a little bit bigger. Okay, when water enters, the cell sap expand, the cell membrane increases against the cell wall. This is the cell wall. It will expand against all this cell wall, become bigger. Okay, then trigger pressure. When water enter, the cell expand, cell membrane increases against the cell wall. This is what we know as trigger pressure. So from here to here, then the next thing is that the cell membrane, the cell membrane, the cell membrane, the cell membrane increases. Let me use this arrow against cell wall. Cell membrane increases against cell wall. This is what we know as trigger pressure. Okay, this is what we know as trigger pressure. This is what we know as this is what we know as trigger pressure. This is what we know as trigger pressure. Now, the question asks, when does trigger pressure occur? Are you with me? In a plant cell placed in hypotonic solution, water enters the cell by osmosis. The cell sap gains water and its volume increases. The content pushed outward against the cell wall, producing trigger pressure. I've explained this. So we are looking at various options. Now, from this question now, before I pick the correct option, let's look at other options. Option B. Option B, cell loses water to its environment. Cell loses water to its environment. Option B says cell loses water. Option B says cell loses water to its environment. Option C says volume of cell decreases. Option D, cell is put in an isotonic solution. Let's look at option B. Cell loses water to its environment. When a plant cell loses water, it becomes flaccid. When plant loses water, it becomes flaccid. Please take note of this. When plant loses water, it becomes flaccid and may eventually undergo plasmolysis. It may eventually undergo plasmolysis. Okay? So option B says cell loses water to its environment. When plant cell loses water, it becomes what? It becomes flaccid and may eventually undergo plasmolysis. That is opposite of trigger pressure, because here now trigger pressure, water is going in. Why? Plasmolysis is losing water. Are you with me? Are you with me? So let's look at option Let's look at option C. Volume of cell decreases. Volume of cell decreases. A decrease in cell volume indicates water loss. When the cell volume when the cell volume decreases, it indicates water loss. Are you with me? A decrease in cell volume indicates water loss, not development of turgidity. Let's look at option D. Cell is put in an isotonic solution. Cell is put in an isotonic solution. In an isotonic solution, isotonic. In an isotonic solution, there is no net movement. There is no net movement. Are you with me? In an isotonic solution, there is no net movement of water. There is no net movement of water into or out of the cell. In or out of the cell. Are you with me? Now, don't memorize turgidity with plasmolysis. When water enters, it is called turgid. When water leaves, it's called flaccid, which is plasmolysis. When water enters is turgid, and then which is what is known as sugar pressure. Whenever you see sugar pressure, are you with me? Whenever you see sugar pressure, think water enters. Whenever you see sugar pressure, think water enters. Think water enters, okay? Whenever you see flaccid or plasmolysis, just know that water leaves is the opposite of this. So sugar pressure, water enters, right? Sugar pressure, water enters. And what happens, guys? What happens? So I will throw this question to you. Sugar pressure, when water enters, what happens to the cell? What happens to the cell? The cell sap increases. Pressure against the cell wall. The cell sap increases. Pressure against the cell wall. So from this option, the correct option is volume of the cell sap increases. Yeah. So when water enters the cell sap increases, they expand against the cell wall. Okay. And the cell sap increases. So option A is very, very correct. So let's look at question 14. Which of the following bones forms a joint at the point labeled 2 in the diagram? So this is labeled 2 and this is the diagram. Okay guys, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to look at the question very well and pick the correct option yourself. Are you done? Have you attempted the question? All right. Let's look at various options together. Option A, humerus. Option B, sternum. Option C, radius. Option D, femur. Alright, let's begin. Let's begin. Now, don't rush into options. What you have to do is you need to first identify the diagram. You look at the diagram, what does the diagram, what does the diagram, this diagram, what does it represent? Once you identify what it represents, then we can start looking for the answer. Okay? Alright. So this diagram represents scapula. Another name for scapula is the shoulder blade. The shoulder blade. That's another name for scapula. Okay? The glenoid cavity of the scapula forms a joint with the head of the humerus. The glenoid cavity forms a joint. If you look at this place, if you look at this place, I'm coming. If you look at it here, where it's coming from is actually a point. That point is actually the glenoid cavity. Why? Because this is actually where the humerus, the head of the humerus, is fitting. Okay, but let me not rush. The glenoid cavity. Okay, I said that part is the glenoid cavity, which forms a joint with the head of the humerus, right? Okay. Now this triangular thing here, this thing is the scapula. Can you see? We human being, we have two scapulas. Our scapula, they are just two. The joint that is being formed, JAMB can ask, is ball and socket joint. Okay, is ball and socket joint. So you can take that. You can take note of that. Is ball and socket joint. Come, let me write this. Joint. So now, that being said, scapula, scapula plus humerus. Scapula plus humerus. This is this is humerus, equals to shoulder joint. Scapula plus humerus equals to shoulder joint. So you're letting know that this diagram, this triangular part here is the scapula. This part here is actually the glenoid cavity, and this is where the head of the humerus actually fits in, okay, to form a shoulder joint. And the type of joint is a ball and socket joint. So that is it. So if you have to look at the options here, this sternum, no. The radius, no. The femur, no. The correct option is option A, which is the humerus. Now, the sternum is the breastbone, which is located in the center of the chest. It does not form the shoulder joint with the glenoid cavity. The radius, the radius here, the radius is one of the two bones of the forearm. It forms joints around the elbow and the wrist, and not the glenoid cavity of the scapula. Option D, the femur. The femur is a thigh bone. Okay, it articulates with the pelvic girdle at the acetabulum to form the hip joint. Please take note of. So everything I've been saying, you can actually jot them down. So don't confuse shoulder joint with hip joint. Don't confuse shoulder joint. Don't confuse shoulder joint with hip joint. Don't confuse the two, okay? Don't confuse the two. Alright, so a shoulder joint is called to scapula and humerus. So scapula, shoulder joint, scapula and humerus. Are you with me? Hip joint, this hip joint is equals to acceptabulum. Sorry, this hip joint is equal to the pelvic girdle. Pelvic girdle plus the femur. The femur. Why? This one is the scapula and the glenoid cavity. So the correct option here is option A, which is the humerus. Let's move to question 15. Terrestrial plants. Question 15. Let's look at question 15. Terrestrial plants exchange gases through the following except A. Chloroplast, B. Stomata, C. Lenticels, D. Root cells. Terrestrial plants. So the keyword here is terrestrial plants. Exchange gases through the following except. So now, let's look at stomata. Stomata, they are tiny openings on leaves. Stomatas, they are tiny openings. They are tiny openings on leaves. So stomatas, they are tiny openings on leaves for gas exchange during photosynthesis and respiration. So just jot down what I'm saying. They are tiny openings on leaves for gas exchange during photosynthesis and respiration. Let's look at lenticels. Now, lenticels, they are small spores. They are small. Lenticel, they are small pores on stem. They are small pores on stem and back. They are small pores on stem and back, or the stick back of wood. There are small pores on stem and back for gas exchange, especially in woody plants. Let's look at root hairs. Let's look at the root cells, these root cells. The root cells. So these root cells allow gas to diffuse in and out of the soil and the roots. These root cells allow gases to diffuse in and out. So because of this guy here, these root cells, gases will be able to diffuse in and out of the cell. Now, chloroplasts do not play a role in gas exchange. Okay, so they are organelles inside plants. This guy here, this chloroplast is actually an organelle. They are organelles in plant cells. They are organelles in plant cells which are responsible for photosynthesis. Okay, which are responsible for photosynthesis. But gases enter and leave the cell through other structure like stomata and through the chloroplast itself. So the correct option here is chloroplast. So the extra plenty guys through the following. Yeah, you're saying through stomata, through the lenticel, through the retail. So this is actually not part of what it uses to exchange gases. So the correct option here is option A, which is chloroplast. So guys, so this we've come to the end of this modules. If you know that you are here to watch other modules like module 1, module 2, this is module 3, please go back and watch them. You have a lot of things to cover and to learn. Now if you love these videos and you want us to create more amazing of this type of videos for you to enable you to pass your exams at ease, please don't forget to share this video with your friends, like and subscribe, and go to the comments section below. If you have any question, go and comment. So I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.